Tommy, I think we need to start with what happened on NXT from last night. NXT, very good show as well, but I think everybody's talking about the appearance of Ricky Starks.
Yeah, shocked. Excuse me, the wrestling world. Happy to see him show up the way he did. Loved it through the fans. Give that kid a microphone because he's very charismatic on the mic. He did his stuff that kind of got him to the dance, got him over with his fan base. Everybody knew who he was. It's cool when that happens for you, and it was pure shock value, and nobody saw that coming. It wasn't leaked online that he was backstage at the performance center or anything like that. So good job to keeping a secret. Enjoyed his segment and look forward to seeing what happens to him. I also think he's in the right place for his career as well as growth within the industry.
And Thunder, you worked with Ricky in NWA. And when I saw Ricky Starks in NWA and we had him, it seems like a lifetime ago, but we had a segment here on Busted Open called Get Yourself Over Monday.
Yeah.
And Ricky Starks actually reached out to me because he heard that we were talking about NWA, talking about him, and he wanted to be a guest on that segment, and he killed it. And then he gets signed by AEW, and his career just skyrocketed from there. And those days of the NWA, Thunder, when Ricky was a part of it, when you were a part of it, Nick Aldis was the NWA champion.
Yes.
It was before the pandemic. And I think the NWA created a lot of buzz and had created a lot of momentum. You were a big part of that buzz and momentum. And I think Ricky Starks was a big part of that buzz and momentum as well. And you could tell even then that he was a potential superstar.
The thing with Ricky, I've known Ricky even before NWA. We hit the pavement and the roads in Texas, California, where else? Anywhere we could go. He's one of the most hungriest individuals I ever met. I mean, intellectually, physically, and his career. He's extremely passionate about everything he does, his promos, like the way that he carries himself. And he takes that very, very to heart. And I think now that he, from NWA, then everything that happened during the pandemic, that we were not making absolutely zero money, he had a great opportunity coming to AEW, doing something that he did in NWA, which was to put himself over in a way where, with his charisma, his abilities in the microphone, and his abilities in the ring, put him there. And he worked extremely hard to get to the top at AEW. Now, I honestly didn't even know whatever came out on the dirt sheets in terms of that he was done with AEW was real. I don't believe the dirt sheets. So when I saw the news, I was like, I don't believe it until I see it official. And I was in the airport waiting for my Hulu to upload because I was in Tijuana and it was 2 hours behind. And I was on the phone with someone and they were like, oh my God, Ricky is on TV on NXT. And I said, wait, what? I was completely surprised. Completely surprised. It took me completely by surprise. He cut the promo and I was like, well, he's there. So as a friend, I am happy. He seems to be happy, and I just wish him the best. Honestly, it was a pleasure to work with him. And AEW, I share a lot of wisdom with him in terms of savoring the moment. Anything that we get at any moment on TV, it is important for our careers. And when we are on top, we always have to think and be thankful for that moment because we never know what's going to happen in the future. And that's one of the things that I told him when he was like doing this stuff with CM Punk, when he was being a tag team champion, like all the cool stuff. When I was injured and I was calling his matches, I really enjoy his presence in the ring. And I really feel like I'm happy as my friend. If he's happy, I'm happy. Right. And this is not tribalism or anything. And I'm glad things worked out for him. And I just wish him nothing but the best.
Yeah. And I always say, and Tommy, you know this as well, even when it comes to mainstream sports, not you could have a quarterback in one system on a team and it's successful. And then that same quarterback could play for another team under another system and be unsuccessful. Like, and I'm not saying that Ricky Starks by any stretch of the imagination was unsuccessful in AEW, but sometimes you're not the right fit for whatever goal that they have in mind. Ricky Starks, it seems like the WWE, at least for right now, is the perfect place for Ricky to go.
Absolutely. And like I said, he's going to learn different aspects of the industry. There's going to be accountability and there's going to be progress in your career. And it's your natural progression of where you're going to get hot or where you're not going to get hot. Because there's also wrestlers that went to the WWE, didn't necessarily get over as big as they were in the wrestling industry. So when you address tribalism, this is nothing new, and it's not. The tribalism is because it's on social media, but this is nothing new. Look what AEW has done for the Hurt Syndicate.
Or for Tony Storm, for that matter. Like,
Exactly.
she's become the biggest
For
star.
Strickland.
Exactly. I mean,
Mariah May.
Mariah May.
She had a tryout, didn't get signed, and look at the business that she's doing. But that's the industry. And if her contract's up, or if any of their contracts are up, it's either does the company want to sign you? And if not, or I want to go take a look at, free agency or go somewhere else. Awesome. I always say you're blessed to have a 5-year run. And then it's time to move on. And if you're not clicking or catching over after 3 years, then it's like, well, why don't you go test free agency? Why don't you test that? Think of the NFL. What do we all have? Our rookie contracts. And our rookie contracts tell us whether or not we're going to get over with this team. And then if we do, we hit free agency. And then once we hit free agency, it's we really want to make you a franchise player, blah, 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 or goodbye. And we're in that time now between WWE, AEW, New Japan. I was looking at a list, and I've talked with people already that have gotten released. And I'd be like, why don't you try AEW? Like, I think there's a bigger opportunity because we're kind of stacked in TNA. And they're like, thank you for your honesty. And I go, but who knows who's going to leave or who knows what happens, but at least try. Don't just say, I want to go here, because you can elevate your status even more.
Yeah, and I think this is the case of now we're in a place where 4 years ago, you're looking at a lot of WWE wrestlers going to AEW and how AEW is going to use them. And I think now there's a pocket of AEW wrestlers that are probably going to move to the WWE and how they're going to use them. And I think Ricky Starks is obviously going to be the first example because we saw him last night in NXT. And let me ask you about having Ricky Starks go to NXT. What do you think the WWE reasoning now? Ricky Starks is a name. People know who Ricky Starks is. He's been with AEW now for the last 4 years. So Thunder, let me ask you, why do you think NXT is the right fit for Ricky Starks?
I think because he can develop even more than what he already has done. And also he can redefine his character for the WWE universe. And I think although people know who he is, people will get more acquainted with him by being in NXT to get him ready to go into the main roster. That's my personal opinion. And I like again, he's that type of person. I think he needs that too, personally.
Dave,
A reset.
Yeah. If you look at NXT, right? What do we always talk about with NXT? The women's roster.
Mm-hmm.
Right place, right time. Number one, shock value. That got everybody. The other part is top acts in AEW on the men. In NXT for the men are far few in between. There's a deep drop off after Obafemi and Trick Williams. We also have WrestleMania season, and then normally there's a draft. So with all that being said, the men's division needs a bit of something.
They need a jolt.
An
for the lack of a better
talent,
word, yeah.
Or you look around and you're like, whoa, like this is somebody who steps up. So obviously this person's going to get a push. What happens to my push? You need the male division to get over because, like I said, if you look at that poster that they got for the WWE for Madison Square Garden show, it's like, they need bigger draws in NXT for the men's division. And here's one influx of talent.
Now, Thunder said something interesting about, that reset. Thunder just said, Ricky on NXT, a bit of a reset. Also, you have to familiarize yourself with not only the WWE universe, but the way the WWE does things. So let me ask you straight up, Tommy, do you think Ricky Starks in NXT is going to be something that's a brief and then he's going to be jumping to the main roster? Or do you think that Ricky Starks is going to be on that NXT roster for at least a little bit longer?
I think Ricky Starks needs to be in the NXT roster where he could develop. And like I said, you're inserted into the top mix. If you're Ricky Starks and you got called up to the main roster today, where the hell do you fit in? You'll probably miss WrestleMania.
Yeah.
You don't fit in. Penta had an amazing, but Penta is different for the mask and the way he wrestles. It was two different debuts, and Ricky also needs it to also clear up whatever stigma or dirty things, and by dirty things or whatever negative things that fans say about him, because then WWE has to sit there and say, does this kid have an attitude? Is this kid gonna go off script on a promo? Because that won't be tolerated in the WWE. And then here's the other part. You have to prove that you could be a draw. That's it. The bottom line. And in NXT, the tickets are free and it's 200 people. Now when we start building you and we take you to Washington or we take you to Madison Square Garden, you're putting asses in seats, and then the main writers are like, we think we now have openings. That's what Ricky Starks needs, because forget about what you did in the past. You're now, and you have to be even more humble. I would love the Bully and Undertaker interview where Taker said, man, this kid was humble. This kid was nice. This kid was respectful. And he was talking about his past interactions with Ricky Starks. And I'm like, in what world does Ricky Starks hang out with the Undertaker? And then the Undertaker explains it. But for Undertaker to say, this kid's a good, respectful kid, that should say something about a persona you see on television as opposed to a persona you don't know behind the scenes. There's a lot of negative baggage that is associated with him, but you also two sides to different stories. That's why I said whatever happens in the past, it's all about now.
That's interesting, because I don't really see that negative. I think it's more on the other side where people were missing Ricky Starks and wondering where Ricky Starks was, because he wasn't on TV for such a long period of time. I think fans were like, where's Ricky? And they wanted to see Ricky Starks. And now they're going to have that opportunity. And I think on NXT, this is the big difference for me. If he's on the main roster, I don't know where he falls into the main roster. And you're absolutely right. It's WrestleMania season. We're on the road to WrestleMania. You're going to get lost. Ricky Starks in NXT is a main eventer in my eyes. Like, I think he's catapulted right into the main event scene in that males division in NXT. I'd be very surprised if he's not featured prominently moving forward on weekly Tuesday night NXT television. And I think he's going to command it. And Thunder, I got to tell you, Ricky looked great last night. He looked a little jacked last night. You could tell, like, he got himself in great physical condition for that appearance on NXT last night.
Well, he had a lot of time to work on himself. As on a personal level, I checked on him a lot just to make sure that how he was doing. I saw him a couple times, like here and there, and he was focusing a lot on staying in shape and staying sharp mentally, physically, and spiritually, right? So he did a lot of soul searching, and as you can see it, he looked really good. He takes care of himself really well. And yeah, he just gave me that glimpse when he came to the NWA and did his first promo. Like I have a picture of him and I on the first season that we did, and I always see it and I'm like, wow. Like, again, it's like the stages that some of my friends are going, through, and then we worked in almost every company, and now they are going to, the other company, and I'm here looking at them and just again being happy for them. I really hope that this is a good choice for him, that he is in the place that he wants to be, and he continues to be successful.
Yeah, and I understand what you're saying, because it's a friend, it's somebody you worked with closely in two different companies, and even beyond that as well. And Thunder, you noticed from when you were injured, it's got to be tough when You want to be on TV, you want to be in the ring, and you're not getting that opportunity for whatever reason. Whether you're not, creatively being a part of the story, or you're injured,
But
you're
you
sidelined.
know what, David? Sometimes patience is a virtue, right? And life will humble and teach you that you have to be patient to get certain things and to get what you want, right? For me, that's one of the things that the injury and everything that has happened in my career taught me: patience. And although sometimes I cry, I kick, I complain, I remind myself that maybe there's something bigger coming in my future, and I have to be patient, and then I have to like be very specific and very elaborate on my plans on how I'm going to execute certain things. And I think for him being out for so long, it taught him a lot of patience, and it taught him a lot of like what was going to be next for him, what was going to be his next move. I didn't know. Nobody knew. Last time I talked to him, he didn't even know. So this is for me what what happened.
But I think you have to look at it just like any other business or like any other sport. The team that you have together most likely won't be the team you have together 4 or 5 years down the road. Plans change and people's goals change, and you're going to move on. And it's got to be for the better. For Ricky Starks, this is a move for him for the better. And he was on TV. It's been a long time since we saw Ricky Starks on TV. He was there. It caused excitement. It got everybody talking. And I'm sure it's going to be the same way with the other wrestlers from AEW who left and the wrestlers in WWE that were released. Yeah. You're going to be looking for, like in the WWE, all those names. All right, 90 days from now, where are they going? Are they going to stay in wrestling? Are they going to go to AEW? Are they going to go to TNA? And I think that's fun for the fan, but also you want what's best for the wrestler. Tommy, you said it perfectly. The Hurt Business was a great idea that never really panned out. Now you have the Hurt Syndicate in AEW. So I think it's very interesting, and I think you have to look at it what's best for business on one side, but also what's best for the professional wrestler moving forward. Thunder?
I also want to say when you are released or you decide to move to another company, it is super important that you have a very, very supportive team of people on your side that are guiding you the right way, because I think that will help you to make better decisions for your career. And I hope everybody that is, going in this situation where there's a lot of changes, you guys have the right team on your side so you know what to do in your future and for your career, because that will be key, I think, for you to have even more success, especially when you're going to a new territory.